And time again, we have seen activists and celebrities speak out and protest issues regarding the lack of equal rights. Time and time again, we have seen the politicians in this country debate about the topic. But yet, time and time again, we have failed to address the core matter at hand. But today, we are here to dedicate our discussion to exactly that, the Equal Rights Amendment, specifically about if it is time to ratify the amendment, how that can be accomplished, and how organizations can aid in that process. The Equal Rights Amendment, or ERA, was introduced in 1923 by suffragist leader Alice Paul and finally passed by Congress in 1972. But still, to this day, has not been ratified. Since then, it has been nearly a century, and this concept of equal rights regardless of a person's sex is still not guaranteed. It took us 49 years just to pass the amendment, just to acknowledge that women should be treated equally to men, and another 45 plus years to debate about the subject. And we, as women, see the effects of this unfinished amendment most in our everyday life, through gender wage gap, violence, oppressive treatment, sexism, and the list continues. So we, as women, must take matters into our own hands. It is our duty to fight and demand for equal rights. It is not a privilege. It is a basic human right to be treated as equally as our fellow male peers. We must rise above the oppression and believe that we are worthy and deserving of those rights. Our oppressors can only take advantage if we, the female race, continue to enable them. Therefore, the question shouldn't be if it is time to ratify the amendment, but more so when, because it is long overdue. According to the equalrightsamendment.org, when the amendment was passed in 1972, it nearly saw a successful turnout when 35 out of the 50 states approved of it. It was just 3 states away from being ratified. Since then, many ERA bills have been introduced in legislative sessions, and only 15 states have not yet ratified it. These are the states that we need to divert our attention to. These are the states where the most talk about equal rights should be occurring. The more awareness we raise in these states, the greater the possibilities of persuading the population in those areas. We constantly see and hear people protesting against oppression. However, it's not enough, because people are speaking out in the wrong states like California or New York, which were the 16th and 22nd Amendment state to ratify the amendment in 1972. Preaching to these states won't have as large of an impact as it would if representatives are willing to speak out in more conservative areas. The National Council of Women Organizations have already started this process by encouraging the introduction and passage of ERA bills in the 15 states that have not ratified it. Because bringing the issue directly to the opposing state will send a prominent message of necessary reformation. This objective can also be achieved through the 3-state strategy, which is based on a legal analysis in the Equal Rights Amendment, why the ERA remains legally viable and properly before the states, published in William & Mary Journal of Women and the Law. It brings to discussion the fact that the ERA's ratification period of less than 3 decades would surely meet the reasonable and sufficiently contemporaneous standards required by several Supreme Court decisions. A legal battle over the amendment is a great way to remind people that it was never ratified. Because our biggest enemy is that most people think this is already finished. Unfortunately, it's not. However, wanting to persuade a whole population of people to believe in an imposing idea from what they've been taught, that's a difficult task. Before researching about the ERA, I didn't realize that in this day and age, despite how progressive this country has grown, we still can't agree on the fact that every person deserves equal rights. That's absurd to me, but it's reality. So alongside fighting political and legal battles, we must also educate. And this is where organizations like the AAUW can impact this movement. Events hosted by these organizations brings light to the situations that we are facing today. Organizations like the AAUW are appealing to the younger generation because we are the future. We are the change, and the first step to demanding change is to educate ourselves about the current system and why we need change in the first place. So as this discussion is coming to an end, I leave you with the concise words of President Lyndon B. Johnson. We have talked long enough in this country about equal rights. It is time now to write the next chapter and to write it in the books of law. Thank you.